Welcome back to the 101, brought to you by Lincoln Wallace. This is your small business and entrepreneurial show. As always, I have Madison Gillespie and Andrew Leachman with me. Boys, how are you? One at a time. Don't jump the gun.
Good morning, Michael.
Okay, good. Andrew, how are you?
Good morning, Michael. Hello.
Perfect.
How are you, Michael?
I'm good. I think that's as much as we're going to let Andrew talk today.
Perfect. Yep.
See you guys later.
Yeah, I thought today, and I'm super happy because Andrew actually did his research and Madison said, what are we talking about today? So I would like to talk about the impact of the Walmart closing 63 Sam's Club stores. And I want to point out it was 63 because I see on Facebook, which is where I get all my news and information, because I know
Very
it's legit.
accurate.
Fun fact on that, but
Stop laughing. When I look and I see that the roof is caving in, I'm looking through these numbers to see it's not just that they're closing, it's why they're closing. And Andrew, you read the article, so why don't you go ahead and give us a little information?
Well, they're actually closing those to generate funds so they can actually start competing on an online front with Amazon and some of the bigger juggernauts. So instead of having to do something where you try to raise money or raise funds or capital to build they're using the Sam's Clubs as hubs.
So they have the infrastructure. They're changing
they've got the
10%
infrastructure.
of their
Just changing the use of it to try to, these are stores that weren't necessarily the biggest or the most selling. They looked at them and they knew they could make more money by letting them compete with Amazon because, let's be honest, that's the direction everything is going.
Well, that is the big beast.
Yeah, I did read the article, Michael.
Oh, thank you, Madison. I didn't know you
It just
were
took
Go
me
ahead.
an hour.
Oh. This is a guy who's owned multiple iPhone 10s, so
Yeah.
he's an expert.
Highly
in everything.
recommend.
Yeah, highly recommended. Yes. But anyway, so you were saying you read the article.
I did. I thought the interesting part of the article was why they're closing from the standpoint, I think Walmart when Walmart came in 10, 15 years ago when it was starting to get popular, all these mom and pop stores kind of got shut out because they were cheaper and more convenient. So then they put all these Sam Clubs in to kind of own the market and kind of hurt themselves because then they oversaturated a market that they really didn't need to. I mean, you know what I mean?
Right. Well, it was part of you're drowning out the smaller competition.
Right.
So in the long run, it's kind of like, and we always talk about media companies. You and I do. We don't include Andrew. But in media companies, what they were doing was, if I can't really beat my competition, if they're weaker, I'm going to buy it. So I'm going to be the conglomerate. If I drive out all my competition, however, then I'm only competing with myself.
That's exactly what iHeart's done.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you look at what they've done now,
the same songs nationally on the same stations, every song on the hour, every hour, same songs.
Do you like Harry Styles, by the way? I thought I'd put that out there.
No, that's exactly why I don't listen to any stations.
Okay. But in that example, you're driving out your competition, right, or you're buying them up. So when you do that, you're going to reduce the amount of people that can be employed in that industry. And as you have to keep up with the times, you're adding digital elements, websites, that kind of thing. You have to change your business model, which is essentially what this the closing of these 63 stores is about. But what I thought was interesting from Madison's point of view, you have to see this when you're dealing with not just small businesses. When you're dealing with corporations, you have to say, this is your loss leader right here. Okay, you've got to change with the times. You have to give that message. Like in this instance, if you were dealing with Walmart or anybody like this, and you say you've got to make a change, and it's going to cost jobs, but it's going to actually create newer jobs, more high-tech jobs, right? How do you give that explanation to somebody?
I actually just had this conversation yesterday with a gentleman I was talking to. We sat down with a pretty successful businessman that has multiple businesses under one umbrella. And the conversation that Josh, my business partner, had with him was, okay, I know you're profitable as a company, right? But do you know, let's say, this part of your business, is that profitable? And the guy goes, well, I don't know. And he goes, so then why are you continuing to kind of put money into that? Why does it even exist if you're not doing that anymore? And sometimes I think with what we've seen is that businesses, although they are profitable and maybe spread out in multiple areas, it doesn't mean that every aspect of the business is profitable.
Right.
There are things that you have to be aware of and eliminate if it's not beneficial to you as an overall company. And I think that's, in some ways, it is Walmart and Sam's Club keeping up with the times by going to more of the online consumer based product because they're seeing the growth there. I mean, in the article it talks about how there's growth in the e-commerce, and this is a way for them to do that and keep up with the times. And we deal with that. It
just took them forever to get on board with this. They felt like they were going to keep their brick and mortar stores forever, and that is just not. That's not real. I mean, you can sit on your
some
couch
pride
and,
involved.
Yeah,
Well, yeah.
for sure.
But
Yeah.
well, I
You
think
deal with that too with a lot of businesses where you could use the phrase if you don't evolve, you're dead.
right.
You absolutely have to evolve.
But I think people that are complaining about this, and I know where this stems from, it is the announcement that Walmart was giving all these bonuses because of the tax restructuring and all that, and now people want to tear it down because now they're laying off all these people. I think people aren't reading enough into the article, and I'm not defending the tax cut or any of that.
Right.
What I'm saying is, as a business, you have the right to make changes. It's not that they laid off all these people and shut down these 10 stores, 63 stores. It is they have plans because some of their they're restructuring because their profit is being eroded by Amazon. I can't tell you how many times I saw this weather has been terrible where people are using Amazon to deliver groceries.
Mm-hmm. No, that's
But Walmart can't do that. Walmart, their step right now is you can have a curbside delivery. You still have to go get it.
Mm-hmm.
They're not equipped to fight that fight, right?
Right.
So as a business, you have to constantly be looking at how you can improve.
Well, they're 2 years behind everybody.
They are, but at the same time, they're still convenient in their own way. I mean,
They've already
the
got
owner of
all the
Walmart
stores.
created 90% of the market
Yep.
has a Walmart within 10 miles of each other.
Right.
So even though they're not providing that service that Amazon's now getting into, they're still extremely important and convenient. I think, like to Andrew's point, they were just behind the times, and now they're trying to catch up. And so, why this looks like a big deal and a loss, and oh my gosh, they're getting bonuses, but they're cutting jobs. It's really just restructuring to keep up, and it doesn't mean that necessarily the Walmart as a whole is a bad thing or the way they've structured it, because there is a big importance to being able to go down the street at 3 a.m. if you need an emergency item.
Like a bike
Amazon's
pump
not
or
doing
something
that,
like that.
right?
Well, and again, Amazon is trying to do that next day delivery, 2-day delivery.
Right.
They got even 2 hours. They've got starting to get
The drones.
Yeah, well, they're starting to get there's some cities. I don't know if Columbus has it. I think Columbus might actually have it where you can literally buy stuff online and it gets delivered same day.
I ordered Jimmy John's and Amazon at the same time to see who comes first. It's freaking
Oh,
fun.
I like it.
Yeah, I race them and then
Well,
track
it's interesting you bring up the tax cuts too, and I read this last night. 10% of the workers here in Ohio that work for Amazon are still on food stamps.
What?
10% of the workers that work for Amazon here in Columbus, here in Ohio, at their distribution centers, because they're part-time jobs, so they're getting just enough to maybe get by with the government assistance. However, I find it really funny that Amazon is getting all these tax breaks, and it's this big fight to bring them into your state, but then the state is also kind of helping feed your own employees.
Well, I think it's funny that you bring that up because I didn't know that. But when you look at it, everyone looks at Amazon like, what a great company. It's
Right.
kind of like the way that people
They're
look
going to
at
go the
Apple.
path. They're going to go the path of Walmart, and everybody. It
Right.
eventually happens if you want to grow so fast. You start undermining the quality of the bottom people that work for you.
Well, this is a big misconception that Amazon's profit comes from their online store. Amazon's profit comes from their servers
And their data.
and their
Yep.
data. They own the largest server network in the world.
Right.
I mean, all the Amazon facilities there in Columbus, the majority, I think the majority of them are just server hubs. I mean, just with data on them.
Right.
You know,
Well, they're
so-
trying to expand it
Well, that's
too.
what
Right,
that's
yeah.
what we were talking about with the other international companies or countries starting to crack down on that a little bit with the data sharing to where you can't export data, which we talked about, which that's our biggest, one of our biggest exports is exporting data. Amazon's at the front of that. They get all this, they know everything you look at, they know everything you shop, and everything you want to buy, and then you're speaking to their robots essentially with Alexa, and Alexa's Amazon, isn't it?
Yes,
I don't
Alexa
know.
is
Listen,
Amazon.
I'm not turning that thing. I've got 4 of them. The last few years for Christmas. I'm not turning it on because if the government wants to know what I'm talking about, just look at my emails and my phone. I don't need a thing that I'm talking to say, hey, I would like to listen to New Kids on the Block. I'm
Right.
just kidding. That's Madison does that. But you know what I
I'm
mean?
more of an NSYNC guy, but I get it.
Yeah. You are a Timberlake kind of guy. But when I'm looking at all that information we're feeding these these systems with Amazon. We're not doing that with Walmart. So Walmart, if you go to their online, you don't kind of get fed something back. It's you have to search for this stuff. So they are behind. Their website technology is
Their
really,
website's a basic website.
yeah, it's really the 2000 to 2004 model of you better know what you're looking for. Whereas Amazon is recommending things based on your search history.
You're like looking at. I was looking at stuff we're going out to Vail next week to snowboard. I'm like, how do they know I might want that? Or why does that lump with
They
this?
read your
And it's
mind.
like, yeah. It's like, well, maybe I do want that foam roller and this new pair of warm gloves. I don't know how those are linked together.
What kind of trip are you going on in Vail that you need a foam roller?
But if you're snowboarding down the mountain, man, you need anything
I don't
for
need your excuses
myofascial
right now.
releases.
Okay, we're doing a show, and I need your excuse.
Well,
So, but getting back to this piece, what I wanted to delve into more was you've got this data mining system, right? So you're coming up with all this data, and at the same time, Facebook changes their whole algorithm, right? And YouTube is doing the same thing. So when you're looking at they're changing their business model, and the biggest complaint is I see the same things over and over again, or I'm seeing things posted from last week. People are forgetting what this is about. It's still about your information and your purchasing habits and what you're interested in, right?
Yeah.
That's all this
Absolutely.
is about. And you go back to the Walmart example, they still can't do it. And this is not to defend Walmart, even though I think it's the greatest place on the planet at 11 o'clock at night on a Thursday.
People at
You
Walmart?
know,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, they got websites dedicated. It's fantastic. There is no People of Amazon website
Not yet.
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 But Andrew, being our tech guy, when you're looking at the changes of, we've got kind of like a big dinosaur in Walmart that's trying to evolve. You look at Facebook's changes. I'm sure you've looked at that. That is not to help you as the consumer.
I think the old Zuck there, when he changed everything, I think he realized because
He's
he
talking
came
about
out. He
Mark
said
P.
he
Zuckerberg.
was getting back involved. Like that was his New Year's resolution, was to get back involved with his company. And I kind of thought, shouldn't you been involved the entire time this has been going on? But I think he sees all the news feed and all the fake news and what he's contributed to with our current state of politics.
I don't know what you're referring to, but go on.
That it's kind of on him. The model they had was faulty and it was actually pretty see-through. Once you started, all you were getting was just crap generated.
Right.
So I think they've dialed that back, and what he's done by dialing that algorithm back, they're going to try to tweak it, fix it, and make it something where it's a little more subtle. It used to be a lot more subtle with how they do their advertising instead of such in your face. And they've things like BuzzFeed and a lot of those Facebook-driven news.
Vice.
They're going to hurt. They're not going to be able to just generate the content and the clicks and the sharing.
Well, it was created originally for a personal friend, family interaction type of website that turned into every other post is a video from some random person sharing something.
Kind of like the video we're doing now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
This is
But
different,
this is
though.
so important.
Yeah,
And
this
people
is
are
important
learning
to see
so
it on
much.
Facebook. But yeah, I'm not attacking what you're saying, but you're basically saying this is worthless.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, good.
I will not share this.
Okay, good.
But yeah, so I think a lot of my generation has shifted to Instagram and to Twitter and to Snapchat and to other avenues that don't have all that because they want that interaction. They want to be able to see photos.
Even with Snapchat and the stories, you can go watch news stories and watch the sports updates, and which the generation, my younger brother who's 19, which the generation before me, as much as that pains me to say it, it's Snapchat. They have streaks with like hundreds of days with going back and forth with each other and getting all their socials, like getting all their news from Snapchat. And they don't really, my little brother doesn't even use Facebook. I can tag him in something and he won't get that for days. He doesn't look at it. There's too much public eye on what they're doing, and they got smart about that. Whereas our
It's more
generation
private.
just threw everything in the kitchen sink on Facebook for everybody to know all of our business, and it's a little more private now.
It's very true.
Do you guys personally, does it bother you that you're giving your data to these companies you have no idea what they're using it for? Not from a business sense, but I personally don't care.
I don't care. I don't like my phone number or my email going out just because you get all
Yeah.
these random calls or this junk mail. But outside of that, if they want to know where I live or what, I really don't care.
I don't even know where you
send
live.
me stuff.
I know
Give
where
me
he
my
lives.
address.
That's all you need to know.
Yeah, you know where.
The only reason I ask that is because Walmart's going to have to speed up to get there, so they're going to have to get your information.
They have to buy.
I'm curious to
But-
know. I would think. Go ahead.
Yeah, here's where Walmart messed up. They don't have any type of rewards card that you come in that's like Kroger. I use my rewards card every single time
For the gas.
For the gas and
They
other
know
stuff.
everything you buy.
And Walmart, I don't think I've ever used anything. If there's an incentive plan, it's not in your face to the point where you need to sign up. Giant Eagle, you almost can't check out unless you have a card.
You can't. You
Right.
absolutely
can't
actually
check out.
can't check
Okay,
out.
there,
Someone has
I've
to be
gotten angry
behind
in there
you.
multiple times trying to buy a pack of buns, and I can't even.
hot dog.
Like last minute, you're trying to buy something and you can't even get checked out because you don't have a Giant Eagle card, and I about freak out just because I want to be out of. I just want to go.
Right, and that's all data collection
Right.
too. I mean, there's no Walmart has not done any of that, so they are behind big time. And
But don't you think that it's because Walmart's supposed to be the most efficient or the cheapest place to buy things? I mean, do I need to give you an incentive plan to save money?
true.
You know what I mean? So I think but that model isn't going to matter as we
No.
move forward, because when you go on Amazon and it says this was $100, it's now $37. Is that a deal? Do I even know? I have nothing to compare it to because there's not a shelf for me to look at and go, here's two comparable items.
Well, and we've shifted as a culture. We care a lot more about what's in our food, the type of meat we're eating, the produce. And you go into Walmart. I mean, me personally, I kind of stay away from that on the Walmart side of stuff. So now it's not convenient for me to go to Walmart and get everything I need because I don't want to buy some of their products because I just don't.
Poor quality meat selection, poor
Right.
quality vegetables.
You're
No
snooty,
idea
I
where they're coming
understand.
from.
I shop at Aldi.
Let's take a break right now. When we come back, I want to continue this discussion about the Sam's Club event. You're listening to the 101 brought to you by Lincoln Wallace. When we come back, I want to get back in what you said about Instagram and Snap and all that kind of stuff because you are how old?
32.
No, I'm 42 and you're...
29.
You youngsters.
So there is a gap between, because to me, I can't understand Snap. Like, I am not going to watch those little... You know,
I actually enjoy it more than.
I
He
do
always
too.
says he doesn't know how to snap you back.
yeah, I know how to write you back. I don't know how to snap you back.
I don't even know what
Just a little bubble
Snapchat
button in the
is.
middle.
Don't
not missing
double button
anything,
I don't
Jim.
need it.
But you know what?
When
I'm a
you
baby
do it,
boomer, so I
it's
don't
not
need
that I'm
to know.
ignoring it. I literally will
old.
just write you back.
It's
if
for
I'm not
young
sure.
people. If I got on there, then I'll be like,
Yeah, so I'm like, oh, he wants a response.
old man.
Dear friend, here's what
Well, see, what happened was Snapchat was the first person to have disappearing stories. Then Instagram took that same model, and now you can post on your story and they disappear just the same way. Now Facebook's doing it. So a lot of people like that are on Snapchat aren't. I've more shifted over to Instagram fully because now Snapchat, it's
I do
They're all
Snapchat more for like just my own. Yeah, I don't know.
it
I
is
like
fun.
watching your story, but then there's part like you put so many things there. Like you've got 12. Like when you went to Germany or whatever.
Yeah. That's
Before,
like a, like
before I
5
can
minute
tell
watch.
what I'm watching, you
There's a-
moved on to the next thing.
Yeah, because they're only 10 seconds.
Right. And I'm like, I would like to know what that thing was, and then I'll write you, dear Andrew.
Well, that's part of it.
what are you
Like that's an
doing?
engagement. Then you
Dear
ask me,
Andrew.
and I can explain more. But like the
What are you
thing with
doing in
Snap is,
Deutschland?
if I like, how boring would my story be if it was like 50 seconds of all
Was
this
ist
stuff, like,
los?
and then I'd be on my phone all the time. So I'll snap a little bit and then put my phone away.
Yeah, they're like quick little bursts, so it's not like, hey, look at all this. Like Facebook
You mean
Live.
like how I do?
Right.
Like how I'm
I never
constantly
watch
on
this
my
stuff.
phone. What'd you say?
What?
Nobody cares what you do. You piece of-
Michael writes you and says, "Was ist los, mein Herr?
Yeah. I'm like, get that hat off. People are gonna think.
Das
that
ist
you're-
wirklich ärgerlich. Das
Where'd
Radio
the
ist
hat thing
kaputt."
come from?
Right.
Did I just completely
I
miss
don't speak it.
I
Schweinhund.
threw that out there.
I
No
just
one knew
really
it.
speak a tiny bit.
I love
To
that.
say the radio
I
was
just
broken.
wanted you to be like,
Okay.
Big dog.
what's with the hat?
What's wrong?
Please stop talking
Oh,
about
yeah,
the
I
hat.
don't.
The
Boys
best part
need
is,
toilets.
he's
That's
just
Right,
like,
speak,
well,
where's
that's
the
the
toilet?
toilet.
Speaking
Well,
English.
what's the deal?
But I can see
Because I
Deutsch.
did get 2 hats for Christmas, but I just wanted to bring
Yeah,
it up.
but-
Well, I
Espanol.
thought maybe I missed a
Nine,
string
nine.
of text. And
That's-
then
That
I
was
to
why I
look like
did it,
that.
because you'd be like, oh, why is this hat so important?
And then you send the picture of the girl in the hat. I go, I just don't see her hat at all.
You only got about 9 or 10 more minutes.
Okay. So when I come back, I want to go right to you, and I want to talk about the difference in Instagram, Snap, and all that. And then I want to take the get off my lawn approach because I don't understand it.
I could take that too. I'm 55, and I get off my lawn, you kids.
It's tough because I want to share stories about clients, but I don't want to like give all the details. So that story I was telling about,
I know.
it's hard. It's
I
hard.
can tell because you
I was
can't
struggling
go,
because
and
I
then
want-
Doug said this.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Larry.
Nope, nothing for
Can
you.
you?
None of that.
Can
Nope.
you?
Is
I
it
just
working?
tagged you in it. It said, "Do you want to tag Andrew?"
No,
No.
thanks for the
Oh,
tag. For sure.
Yeah, we're not tagging you.
Did you tag him in Snap?
Because you listen to 98 Degrees. We're not going to tag you.
In sync.
Oh, in sync? Oh, okay.
What's the difference?
difference.
I like 98 Degrees. Yeah, what's the difference? Your
Yeah.
Backstreet Boys, 98 Degrees in sync. What's the
Whoa,
difference?
whoa. There's a big difference.
Listen here. Listen,
Easy,
Linda.
Nick.
Beatles, Rolling Stones. What's the difference? They're both from England.
You ready?
Ready to roll? Here we go.
Welcome back to the 101, brought to you by Lincoln Wallace. Before the break, Andrew, I wanted you to get into this. We're talking about new models having to change the old school approach, and this is the Walmart Sam's Club issue if you're just listening. What we want to talk about right now is you're kind of our tech guy. So when we're talking about Snap, Instagram, Facebook, when you're talking about it, to me, it is the most annoying thing because Facebook is like, I went from MySpace to Facebook, and I'm like, oh, Facebook is cool because I can post important memes and tag
That was
people.
probably a big jump for you too.
Yeah, I mean, it did take about 2 or 3 years, but yeah, I was
To get
on
13 friends.
it. And then, that's hurtful. I have 15.
That's rude.
But Andrew is constantly on Snapchat, and as I always say, he sends me videos and pictures, and then I just text him back, wonderful, you're a good person. Like, I don't know how to do it back. So, and people are like, it's so easy. And I'm like, I don't have time to learn it, right? Give us the difference of why that technology is more prevalent now.
Well, it's interesting to note that Snapchat themselves actually don't consider themselves social media. They themselves don't. They consider themselves communication. So based on that model, they like to let people communicate with themselves, but they haven't really found a way in the person-to-person to build in sponsoring unless you're watching stories. And they'll throw an ad in there.
I can't stand those stories.
Yeah, they'll throw an ad in there, and then if you're watching the news stuff, they'll throw an ad in there. But they've really struggled to monetize their model, and I don't know if their goal is to necessarily 100% monetize it, because if you get too fast and you have stuff like what happened with Facebook, where they spent a year trying to police all the fake news and all the crap that got basically shared that you couldn't control and pull down fast enough because a million people see it, and when people see it on Facebook, it's automatically the
But let's
the
be
gospel.
fair, though. Facebook has become a resource, okay? Whether right or wrong. So it doesn't matter what's posted.
Oh,
if it
it's
gets
absolutely,
shared.
yeah, absolutely.
But someone can pay to boost their post, so you can write anything you want. There is
Well, it's
no
clickbait. I mean, it has basically exploded an entire market of people making money. That's part of the reason I think why Facebook dialed back what they were doing. There's people making millions of dollars a year just creating these fake clickbait news stories on crappy websites that get shared over and over and over again. And every time they click and they get their SEOs and they get paid for their advertising, that Facebook is to say, well, why are these people making money and we're not?
Right.
So kind of shut that down. And then Instagram has been a little bit more subtle with their ads, but they kind of went with the old Facebook model where you slide a picture in for an ad as you're scrolling.
Now some of them you have to identify, which I like that.
Yeah, they have to always put sponsored on it. And then Twitter is pretty obvious to see the sponsored stuff. They'll put Twitter as well as put in 10, 15-second ads in the beginning of their videos, which YouTube was doing for a long time. They still do. That's how they basically pay for everything. You really need to identify what you're trying to do and then figure out which resource you want to use. Which Facebook seems to be getting back to its roots a little bit with connecting people and not necessarily just monetizing, advertising, and sharing.
Well, I'm glad you brought that point up because I want to talk with Madison. When you were in TV and I was in radio, when I was in radio, digital was starting to build. Like, I can remember being in radio when people were like, why are you going to spend money on a website? So that was like around 1964. But you were
13.
Yeah, you were recently at a TV station that's selling digital and all these things. How do you view digital from an advertising standpoint? Because again, we're talking about a major business. One of the biggest employers in the country is trying to catch up, so they're behind. If we're looking at digital strategies on how to do that, I personally believe that digital doesn't do that much for you. I think everybody wants it. It's kind of like having a real fancy car, but no one knows how to drive it.
Right. I mean, digital is something that's growing year after year across every platform, really. And so when you're forced to sell something, like we were in media.
Forced? Yes.
Yes.
It wasn't an option.
No.
Because you will do 5% of your total revenue, and then you go out there and you're like, I don't know anything about this, but I need you to buy
this.
it. Yeah, buy it because we're friends? Thanks.
Yeah. I think it's challenging because you're trying to you have to be relevant from a business standpoint, and you want to kind of be spread out through, if you're on TV, you want to do digital. For some people, they want to be in the newspaper. But I think it kind of depends on your business, because if you're not going directly to a consumer where they can purchase something within that moment, it's a lot harder to convert that person over. And there's no really metric to know it. Yes, I mean, some people don't know what a click-through rate is. They don't know what a bounce-back rate is. If you put an ad in front of somebody and they click on it and it goes to the website, but they immediately exit that page, what does that mean?
Right.
There's so many different levels to it. And even these big billion-dollar companies don't know enough about it. They're going around the country. Hey, here's a digital company that's doing $20 million in revenue. Let's buy them, use
Right.
all their people so that they can teach us how to do it. So I think it's growing. I think it's still. I know it's growing. I think it's still kind of this unknown space. I do see a lot of value in it because that's where everything's shifting to. Just like Snapchat's worth how many billions of dollars, and all you do is post pictures that disappear.
Well,
So-
that's the thing is people, we gotta be there. We
Yeah,
have to
you
buy.
really
We have
do.
to do it.
Yeah.
You do, but what is it you want out of it, right? So if you're gonna be in the new tech world, nobody seems to have a grasp on what their goal is. It's just they want to be there.
Facebook tried, right? So now if you are a business owner and you create a business page, Facebook has a way of throwing out opportunities for you to market
It's
within
$30. Here's a
Right.
You're
$30
gonna have to
coupon.
pay. Yeah, you're gonna have to pay now on Facebook.
Right, but they're trying to give you a metric like, hey, if you pay this much money, you'll get this many likes. That's
Yeah,
fine,
or
but
impressions.
What is a like?
Or
anyway?
impressions.
Or impressions, but an impression.
I saw an ad yesterday. I looked at my girlfriend, which she doesn't listen to the show, and she doesn't know anything
how
about
nice.
this, so I can just talk. And I looked and I said, this thing has 16,000 impressions on it. It has 18 comments and 4 shares.
Right.
What that means, it's literally like if I'm looking at that,
.00.
whatever you paid for, and it's been sponsored for like months. I'm like, it's been up for months. I was like, this is actually horrible conversion rate. And she's like, oh, okay. And I was like, well, I wish there was somebody here I could actually talk to us about.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest thing is, as the algorithm can continue to change, you're gonna have to keep learning. You have to relearn it every time they change it. Facebook's gonna be a whole new game now.
Same
every
with
time
YouTube.
they change it.
YouTube changed the way that they
Mhm.
do things. So
So-
those people that were YouTube stars, and I don't mean the PewDiePie. Listen, I don't know what's going on with that kid or any of them. I'm talking about the ones that have pages where they have 70,000 subscribers. What are you getting out of it? But that's how they're making their. A lot of people think it's like Bitcoin. I'm just going to sit at home and make money,
Right, yeah.
and it's not a long-term solution.
Now, I think too, you have platforms where if you're a business owner, I think it's important to be on. You need to have some digital advertising.
You
Absolutely.
need a presence.
You need a presence because if you're watching TV and you see a commercial and then maybe you hear them on the radio too, and then 2 days later you see it online, there is something that connects those dots that makes it more relevant than if you didn't see that.
Right.
It just is. Whether you act on that in that moment, whether it's all driven by online, digital advertising, I think there's got to be a blend of it, and there is a big value. It's just understanding what you're getting for your money and what those conversion rates are.
And I just think there's a lot more stats that you get with digital
you
that
can
people
get
don't think. They just throw a bunch at you. It's
Right.
just like, what does this all mean?
That's my favorite thing. Your page views are up, organic search is down, all that, and it's like, how do you fix this? And they go, well, we'll wait till next month.
Okay.
Like that's the thing. I'm like,
But I'll need another
let's
5 grand,
regroup.
Thank you.
Yeah. We're out of time, boys. But
Doing quick.
I want one word answers. Is this a good or a bad thing for Walmart reorganizing that 10% of their total company? Andrew?
Yeah.
Madison?
Smart.
I disagree with both of you. I think it's really good. You've been listening to 101 brought to you by Lincoln Wallace, and we will see you next week.
Cool.